Welcome back to AM Northwest. Kids and teens are more anxious than ever, but parents are making some common mistakes in how they handle that anxiety. Here to tell us more, we welcome back parenting expert Yishai Busi. This is such a great topic, Yishai. And I like your approach that it's that sometimes parents can make their own kids' anxiety worse by how they react. So let's start with the common mistakes. You've underestimated the impact of your own anxiety as a parent.
Right. So a lot of us parents have anxiety, and anxiety is one of those elusive things. It's hard to kind of get a handle on because we are so busy and we're doing a lot of things and we're just trying to parent, and parenting as hard as it is. And we don't recognize when we're coming from a place of trying to just being able to be present and supportive, and when our behavior or our parenting decisions are driven by anxiety.
Oh,
so
interesting.
When they're driven by anxiety, and if anyone listening, and this has happened to me many times, when we're anxious, we talk faster.
Oh, yes.
We make decisions quicker.
Yes.
We listen worse. All those things happen. We make abrupt, impulsive decisions, and we become very rigid. So that is, most of us are familiar when we're in that place.
Yes.
And we're also familiar when we're not in that place. When we're more calm, we're flexible, we're listening, we're trying to understand, we're open to being influenced.
Okay.
So a lot of us, we get anxious when our kids are misbehaving and they're making decisions that we can't control and we don't know how to help them, or we worry. And when we're in that place, our judgment is skewed and we're just not as effective, and we don't always realize that.
So is the best thing then to step back from the situation if you're feeling anxious too?
Yes.
So you don't make it worse?
If we can be aware of it, yes.
Okay.
So
sometimes that's so hard,
it's
though.
so hard. So I encourage people, notice like if your heart's beating, if you're feeling a little fear, if you've got those knots in your stomach when you're thinking about or anticipating your child's behavior.
Okay.
That's a good time. Take some deep breaths. Maybe give yourself a minute, or just kind of hang in there and just keep going. It's going to be okay.
Okay, it's going to be okay. I like that. Okay, the second common mistake is as a parent, you're catastrophizing and generalizing.
Yeah. So anxiety consists of a few different parts. There's the physical part that we just talked about. That's what anxiety is. The knots in our stomach, the heart beating. And then there's an emotional part, which is fear, typically. And then there's a thinking part. How we think about things and worrying impacts all of that. And so two common types of thinking that make anxiety a lot worse. Catastrophizing.
Oh, yeah.
We're all good at this as parents, most of us.
Yes.
Making mountains out of molehills. That grade, that mistake they made. What about college? What about the future? What about their choices in life? Blah, 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 blah.
Yes. Yeah.
When really, like, the kid's like, oh my gosh, I just did this one thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
for me it was being late. Like that,
late.
I catastrophized being late.
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh, I've so been there.
I wish I could go back.
Totally. It's so easy to do.
Yeah,
We've all
right.
done that, right?
Yeah.
We all have our things.
Yeah.
And it's never helpful. It's never effective. And so then what happens is kids internalize that as well. And then they catastrophize.
Yeah.
So many kids will talk, I can't get a B. No, I have to get straight A's. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's not, right? Or I have to do well, or making mistakes. So they really try to not do that because it becomes a bigger deal. Generalizing is when we just make really broad statements. We use phrases like always or never, everyone, no one.
I never do that.
I always do that.
I always do too.
When we do that, we're in trouble. We're
yes,
in trouble. 'Cause
okay.
very few things are always, never,
Right.
everyone, no one.
That is so true. Okay, the third mistake is you're accommodating. How is that bad?
Yeah, so one of the hallmarks of anxiety is it's very uncomfortable. It's very hard. It's very intense. And so what we do is we avoid. It's just a natural thing to avoid things that are going to be uncomfortable.
Okay.
So as a parent, we accommodate when we do anything in service of avoidance without skill building, without teaching. We need to learn skills. So like, for example, if I'm a kid and I'm afraid to give a presentation, I'm too anxious to speak in front of the class. I'm accommodating as a teacher or a parent if I'd say, okay, you don't have to do that. We're gonna make sure you don't have to present in front of the class. You come talk to me, just talk to your teacher, give it to your teacher. We're gonna make sure that you don't ever have to give presentations because that's just really hard for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's not
Kids
going to
not
teach them
learning anything,
Right.
Now maybe that is a legitimate, serious issue and a fear. So maybe this presentation you don't have to give, but we're gonna work towards that.
Okay.
We're gonna teach you the skills to get to the point where you can present in front of a class.
Okay.
So it's not a solution to just avoid.
Yeah,
That's accommodation.
they need you have to be able to learn to do hard stuff, right? Things that are
Right.
out of your comfort zone.
Gradually.
Okay. Fourth common mistake is you're avoiding. Is that similar to accommodating?
It is similar, but
Okay.
as a parent, what avoidance often looks like is we avoid often our own adult challenges. So we avoid conversations with our kids. We we often avoid conversations or issues with our spouse.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You could-
We avoid and avoid. We avoid, because we don't want our kid to have a meltdown. We don't want to deal with that fit. So we avoid. What do kids do? They do the same thing. And nowadays it's scary. I mean, it's always been, but now, teens become professional avoiders.
So what are they avoiding?
They're avoiding feeling that fear of failure, of I can't handle it, I'm going to get
right.
flooded, I'm going to get overwhelmed, sitting in that
Yes.
class and not knowing what's going on. So I'm just going to skip.
Yeah.
So social media and phones and marijuana and there's a lot of things kids are doing to avoid
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so we need to help them gradually learn to engage, and we need to do the same thing and model. Look, this is a hard conversation. You might get mad, but this is really important. I'm not going to avoid it and just have no rules anymore because I'm afraid of what you're going to do.
Right. Ghosting is avoiding, right? People ghosting each
Yes.
other, that's avoiding a hard conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, the last one is you're focusing on the wrong things.
Right. So we focus on a lot of times, and this is kind of part of our culture, but we want to be mindful as parents. We're focusing on their outcomes. We're focusing on the grades. We're focusing on their future, their potential, their opportunities, all these things. And some kids are performing and doing all those things. What are we not focusing on? We're not always focusing on the little moments of kindness, of courage. For anxious kids, little things are a lot. Sometimes talking to a stranger with eye contact can be a really big deal. Focus on that took a lot of guts for you to do. I know that's hard for you to talk to people, and I just saw you talking to those people. Focusing on that.
So the life skills.
The life skills, the little moments
Yeah.
that are easy to miss, that don't show
Yeah.
up in grades or college applications, little moments of kindness, little moments of helpfulness. And
Yeah.
when they do make mistakes, notice their effort when they make mistakes, not just their effort when they do well.
Okay. Oh, you are so good. I bet you're a perfect parent, Ishai.
I've done all of these, by the way, just a reminder. That's how I know them so well.
That's so good. Anyway, we will have all of Ishai's tips on our website at katu.com, and we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Stay right there.